Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we delve into the pressing topic of cybersecurity and its significance for businesses and job seekers. My name is Krishna Vij. I lead the IT staffing business at TeamLease Digital and will be your host for today's session. In our digital age, where technology is deeply integrated into our personal and professional lives, cybersecurity is incredibly important. Cyber threats pose a substantial risk to businesses and individuals, and their impact can be devastating, ranging from financial losses to reputational damage. By prioritizing cybersecurity, businesses can minimize this risk, protect their assets, and ensure continuity of operations. Cybersecurity has also become a regulatory requirement in many industries. Equally important is the growing demand for cybersecurity skills as organizations recognize the importance of protecting their digital assets. Today, we will explore what cybersecurity is, why it matters to businesses, and the exciting job prospects it offers. To further shed light on the importance of cybersecurity for both businesses and individuals pursuing a career in this field, we have recently launched a comprehensive report. Our report on cybersecurity covers valuable insights into the evolving landscape of cybersecurity and serves as a helpful guide for individuals and businesses alike. In case of any questions that you may have during the webinar, please feel free to utilize the chat option. We will make sure to address them towards the end of the session. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speakers for today's session. They bring in a wealth of knowledge and experience in the field of cybersecurity, and their insights will undoubtedly enrich our discussion. Our first panelist is Sachin Kavalkar. Sachin is the Chief Information Security Officer at Niamo, a key member of their delivery, leads initiatives in information security, cybersecurity, data governance, quality management, audit, and compliance. With over 2 decades of experience, he has held various InfoSec roles in 15 countries, overseeing IT and cybersecurity, cloud, IT governance, and enterprise architecture for prominent hypergrowth companies. Welcome, Sachin.
Thank you so much. Good morning,
Our
everyone.
second panelist is Mr. Krishna Pandey. Krishna is the Director of Security Engineering at Salesforce and a seasoned cybersecurity leader with more than 15 years of experience in securing e-governance, cloud, and big data platforms at scale. He has been instrumental in promoting the cause of safe and secure cyber, organizing national conferences and meetups in collaboration with nonprofits and security communities. Welcome, Krishna.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Introducing our third panelist, Archit Rajesh, Chief Information Security Officer and our in-house expert in the field of cybersecurity. Archit brings extensive experience as a technology and information security leader, having successfully led information security, privacy, and digital transformation initiatives for large enterprises across diverse industries. In his current role, Archit is responsible for overseeing the information security posture of TeamLease Group across all its businesses and products. Welcome, Archit.
Thanks, Krishna. Glad to be part of it.
Thank you. A warm welcome to all of you. We are excited to hear our speakers share their expertise and real-world insights today. Let us now delve into our engaging discussions and explore the dynamic and ever-evolving realm of cybersecurity. So to begin with, let us hear from Sachin. What exactly is cybersecurity and why is it crucial in today's digital landscape? Considering the ever-evolving nature of cyber threats today, how can individuals and organizations stay proactive in enhancing their cybersecurity measures? Yes, Sachin, would like to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Krishna. Glad to be a part of such a wonderful discussion today morning. And as we all know that cybersecurity now it's in boom. Like anywhere if you go, there are some of the other issues which are happening with organization. You take any morning, any newspaper, any media, you will at least first line will be there was some company which got hacked with some cybersecurity. Now, what exactly this cybersecurity is? Now everything is going digitalized. Our honorable prime minister also mentioned that, okay, we are moving towards a digitalization, and all those applications, all the companies, everything is going to be digitalized. When we say digitalize, what it means, it's information. Now when we say information, definitely it comprises of the sensitive, confidential, sometimes it's a financial, health related information, and that's why it is very, very important to safeguard that information. And that is what we call it as a cyber security. 360-degree covering all the measures for organization, making sure that that information is protected, it is secured. That is what we need to discuss in the today's topic. Now why it is important? Because there are a lot of the issues which are happening across the organization just because of one small mistake, issue or gap which is there in the system. It may be a manual errors, it may be application security, it may be a network security, because constantly the hackers, they are standing outside your perimeter and just wanting or watching for a moment to come inside. And there are a lot of stuff like reputational laws, financial laws, the violations of your laws and regulation, because now the GDPR laws, data privacy laws are very strict. Every organization need to be. Moreover, it's a customer data, how to protect that, and that is what it is important. So it is now a mandate for every organization to comply with that. That's why cybersecurity is playing a very crucial, very important role in the today's digital transformation. And maybe over the period of like maybe say by 2025, this is going to be a topmost priority on the board, and today it is. And that is why the CISO's role are more demanding to make sure that the cyber frameworks are implemented, the information is protected, they are compliant all the time, and the 360-degree the controls are implemented for organization.
Thank you, Sachin, for the great points that you've made and also highlighting why it is crucial in today's digital landscape and also due to the increasing frequency and sophistication of cyber threats. Now, moving on to Krishna, as technology evolves, new cyber threats continue to emerge. From ransomware attacks to AI-powered cyber attacks, wanted to understand what are some of the most concerning emerging threats in the cybersecurity landscape? And also wanted you to highlight how can businesses proactively prepare themselves to mitigate these risks effectively?
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. I think that's a kind of a very pertinent question. And the threats have been emerging, right? Like, I think I started right into the cybersecurity domain after my college, and even when I was graduating, right? So it was like I was very passionate about cybersecurity in general. And what kind of fascinates me, if you see, in my college library, there was a book on how to write a virus, how basically you design an ideas. It is very important for us to understand. Like, unless you have that attacker mindset, you won't know how to defend. So, because attackers are definitely evolving their game. Like we used to have virus, then we have polymorphic virus. Basically, they can evade the antivirus and other by just kind of changing the signatures on the fly. So this polymorphic attacks and whatnot, and now with AI, like this becomes more easy, right? So we have like continue to see a lot of advance in attacks which are powered by AI, which are powered by new innovation. They are constantly kind of increasing the game. But what happens is cybersecurity is also an industry where we are kind of overwhelmed with number of products. Like a typical CISO will have like, hey, you want to have so many solutions to just protect your enterprise. If they will kind of go buy solution for every use case. Like, hey, you want DLP, you want firewall, you want web application firewall, you want DDoS protections, you want CASB, cloud native protection. Like there are like so many sectors, and for like identity protection, privileged identity management. Like there's so many cybersecurity solutions that you can simply think of. But there have been a report by Microsoft that says if a company or enterprise can implement basic security hygiene like multi-factor authentications and other things, they can actually prevent more than 90% of the attack. So though I definitely see that there are advanced persistent threats, there are status-sponsored attacks, there are very targeted spear phishings, and whatnot. I think we'll never have enough budget, and we will never have enough time to implement all the necessary security controls and kind of fine tune and filter them to kind of defend. Also, there was a very interesting data which says I think human factor is involved in kind of a lot of incidents. So that is, humans are the weakest link when it happens, right? So though we are kind of uplifting our defenses by adding like a AI powered, this can thwart 0 days, this can do this, but humans remain the weakest link. So I think we need to focus on the foundational principles, basic security hygiene, uh, something very simple as threat modeling, which has been there for quite some time. If you can identify who are your targeted users, which trust boundaries they are coming from. For example, if somebody can be in the high trust zone or low trust zone or like a DMG, if we can compartmentalize those sort of things and then kind of design our basic principles, I think we can save lot of incidents from really happening.
Thanks, Krishna. Some of the great points you've made today, and also highlighting that how AI-powered cyber attacks and supply chain vulnerabilities and plus multi-factor authentication is very much required. I'd like to pass a similar question to Archit as well. While we heard from Krishna that to proactively prepare, businesses should continuously invest in robust cybersecurity solutions, conduct regular risk assessments. So now we also see that the integration of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence or IoT devices, blockchain brings new opportunities. But also we are seeing that they also bring in new cybersecurity challenges. So would like you to throw some light on how can businesses leverage these technologies while managing the associated risk and ensure the security of their digital infrastructure. Yes, Arjun.
Sure, Krishna. Thanks. So I think Krishna definitely brought in some pertinent points, and I think Sachin spoke well about that. How cybersecurity is definitely the current most important strategic priority for businesses. I'll just quickly do a quick commentary with some empirical data, and I'll try complement what Krishna and Sachin has already spoken. I mean, if you just look at a report that came out in 2021, showed that the world stands on top of 75 zettabytes of data. To put things into perspective, 1 zettabyte equals 1 trillion gigabytes. Now imagine that's the huge amount of data that we already were by 2021. And if the prediction of that report is going to be accurate, which I certainly believe, by 2025, we would be crossing a total landscape of 200 zettabytes of data, right? So I think this is a living testimony to the fact that the global transformation, the digital transformation that's happening globally is really a big overhaul, and almost every industry is going through it, right? I mean, today, if you see, there are only two kind of industries: one who are already on their digital transformation journey, and the ones who are just wanting to get started, right? So, as a matter of fact, in fact, if you look at it, digital transformation is always linear, and while digital transformation happens in a linear fashion, the cyber threat that comes along with it always grown exponential, right? So that's something I think which Krishna also spoke about, that I think it is very important to understand a hacker's mindset or a black hat's mindset. So not many people know, but in early days of my career, I had been a black hat actually, because back in those days, in 2010-11, there wasn't enough education that could coach us perhaps that what's right on this line and what's wrong, right? So I can tell you that there's a parlance that's pretty used in the malicious world, in the APT world, that they used to call it an age of invasion. Age of invasion was where you would directly do a brute force attack on vulnerabilities into systems. Then came in the age of orchestration. That means you will induce vulnerabilities into systems and then exploit it. And then the age that we are currently in, the most dangerous, of course, is age of deception. That means today, the black hats would want you to understand and would want you to perceive that you are safe, and they would channelize your attention on some of the other aspects which are definitely not your crown jewels. Meanwhile, while they actually conduct a very conducive attack on the crown jewels, right? So I think it's very important that we combat this through 3 steps. First is visibility. We need to have a complete complete scope of visibility around all our business priorities, around our systems, our entire digital landscape. Once we have visibility, then comes the next step, which is uniformity. We need to ensure that the controls that have been deployed are uniform across the landscape. I'm sure all of you would agree that cloud misconfigurations is one of the biggest underlying reasons because of which most attacks actually happen. So that means you need to have a uniform a uniform culture across all your ecosystem, that all controls are equally planned. And once you have the right visibility and right uniformity in place, automatically the third step, which is the right governance, kicks in. So I think using these three structured steps, definitely businesses can combat these emerging threats of today.
Thanks, Archit. Great points made. Also helping us understand how companies and businesses can overcome these challenges. Of course, we would like to hear more on these aspects in our further questions that we have planned it for the entire panel today. This will be a followed question to each one of you, where I would like to hear in terms of which industries typically, when we talk about, there are some industries which are more prone to attacks, which are more considered more vulnerable to attacks. My question would be to Krishna. So what factors contribute to their heightened risk when we talk about such industries which are more vulnerable to cyber attacks? And how can organizations in these industries proactively address their cybersecurity vulnerabilities to protect sensitive data and maintain operational resilience? Yes, Krishna?
Yeah, so definitely, like historically, I would say the critical national infrastructure has been on target most of the time. And I remember way back in 2010, we had a kind of international conference in Mumbai about this, and like, hey, how you protect your ICS and SCADA, like, and definitely the government and defense and other stuff. I was staff scientist at CDAC on those days in Mumbai. But yeah, I think now, as Archit was pointing, right, it is less about what we are trying to kind of protect, because there is no perimeter, and it is more about protecting the data. So data is the crown jewel. So because there is no perimeter, your data can be in cloud, different clouds. It can be on-prem. It can be at all the places. It can be at edge. So it is less about, I would say, which industry. It is more about, hey, which industry player, for example, you take top 5 of any industry, the large companies, they will have the most data. So it is about, hey, who has the something of importance? And then basically, if you know that, hey, you have critical assets, and then you should kind of match it like, hey, I have, for example, let's say 1,000 assets, out of which maybe 50 are crown jewels, right? Basically, which have sensitive data or data of importance. It may have personal information data, PII, or personal health information. So basically, you have to definitely understand what are you trying to protect, and then kind of proportionate to that, because everything has a value. So if your data has X value, you would be able to kind of invest kind of, I would say, appropriate amount to defend it. There is no reason for you to kind of go and defend, like put all the like protection for state-sponsored attacks, but you don't have that threat, right? But I think there are certain, definitely, as I said, critical national infrastructure being one that has become very important recently due to the international conflict which we have, where the NATO countries are being attacked by the state-sponsored. And I think there was some data in the World Economic Forum. It says, I think it has increased by 300% compared to 2020 in 2022. So the NATO countries are being targeted very actively. So those sort of things will be there. Then definitely there are cyber espionage sort of event. So whichever company or country or installation have something of value, definitely they will be targeted. So what I would not say that, but definitely one thing which stands out, last weekend I was into a conference around the healthcare, and the only thing is, like, if, for example, if a financial company, they get their, like, you get your credit card information compromised, you can get a new credit card with a new number. But the healthcare is unique in terms of, like, if somebody leaks your medical history, you can't scratch that. So basically, if somebody has a medical condition, so that information which can be used to target an individual to show advertisement about their medical conditions, or those, basically a lot of research can we carry it out? So I think personal health information remains one thing which is irreversible in case of a data breach. So just a special mention to that.
Thanks, Krishna. So, Sachin, adding it to Krishna's point, and plus, when we made this report, we've been also trying to understand that there are certain industries such as finance, healthcare, government, energy, and retail are more vulnerable to cyber attacks. We would like to understand your thoughts on the same question, wherein which industries are more vulnerable and what are the factors that lead to the heightened risk? Wanted to hear from your end as well.
Okay, I guess this is a great question. Uh, yes, definitely these are the top four or top five industries which are always prone to starting from day one. Since ages, they are always prone to because attacker definitely wanted to gain a multiple benefit of getting it compromised. So they are always there in the list of top five. But as of today, if you ask me, and I echo Krishna as well, that every industry is same. If you go to education industry, I was into one of the cyber security awareness session into one of the very reputed college, and then I asked them that what type of data you collect from your students, and I was surprised they collect every type of data. Now, Aadhaar card being one of your critical identity for Indians, it is getting collected. Your parent details are getting collected. The account details, bank details, your everything is getting collected. Now the question arises why it is not the critical to the cyber security. Have you ever thought of that industry? Definitely yes, healthcare industry, financial industries, the aerospace, everywhere there it is. Now even recently in one of the conference, when I was discussing with one of the very large vendor who was, I should not be disclosing name, but yes, he was into the sports IPL 2020. He said at the moment the match starts, I am so critical. Like if I always like praying for that, okay, I should not get compromised. If I get, everything is lost. So it's not about only finance. Now, this top five industry which I spoke about, healthcare, finance, they are always there because the law regulations demand for it. Because the regulations are very mandatory, the laws mandate it, and that's why they always needs to make sure that the data, financial data, healthcare data is always getting safeguarded. But if you ask me, my personal opinion will be nowadays, since everything is digitalized, all data is getting uh, gathered, and we don't know what we are collecting, what is the classification of that as well, and how we are protecting basis upon the classification, what are the security measures, the frameworks which we have implemented, and how we are protecting that. So I guess every industry is now very critical from the cybersecurity perspective. This Russia-Ukraine war, it was a big news. Sometimes we do neglect that as well. Like one of this the cab vendor, a big company, again not disclosing the name, but they got compromised, and because of which the Russia got a benefit of not allowing the tanks inside the city. Now we never thought of this. So likewise, depending upon the risk, the information which is getting stored, and then what is the impact of that. Definitely, if we have not done the impact calculation, then probably we need to do that. That's something which we need to, the first thing which we need to do that. The information what we are collecting, what will be the impact if that information will get compromised, and what are the current measures which we have. So these are the 3 points I just wanted to add on with what Krishna and Archit said.
Thanks, Sachin, for throwing more light, as in to mention that almost every industry is vulnerable to cyber attacks, and it is very critical for industries and companies to take proactive measures in terms of managing their risk and also put a robust access controls, put in the right employee training, put in right incident response plans, and can help address vulnerabilities and protect sensitive data. So I'm going to add a different angle to this question, and this question is for Archit. Uh, while we spoke about industries, also tried to understand from Krishna and Sachin on the specific industries and which are more vulnerable, would like you to provide some specific use cases or examples of industries or sectors where effective implementation of cybersecurity measures has been critical in safeguarding sensitive data and preventing cyber attacks. Also, wanted to hear from you, how can these cases serve as valuable lessons for other organizations looking to enhance their cybersecurity practices?
So quite a loaded question, I must say. Thank you. I think I completely echo with both Krishna and Sachin that, while conventionally and historically, BFSI sector is something that has been the favorite target of, the black hats. But I think that's no more true, because in earlier days, the concept was fairly simple that, the threat is going to be, of course, attracted towards where the money lies, right? So, of course, you know that BFSI is the center of all the money across the globe. So that's the reason why they were being targeted. However, that's not true anymore, because, like, I think we gave numerous examples across this discussion that how digital transformation is actually disrupting every industry, right? So there is no differentiation today in the world that these are certain industries which are continuing their brick and mortar presence, and they're not going to have any cyber or a digital presence. Uh, Fundamentally, every company, directly or indirectly, has a digital footprint. I can give you an example. Today, if you look at any company, while regardless of whatever business they are in, they would have partnerships with a lot of other companies. They would have financial inclusion products for their employees. They will have AI-enabled chatbots for the welfare, employee welfare initiatives. Similarly, they would be using a lot of third-party components as part of their software supply chain. So the whole world is integrated, right? I mean, if you just look at it, I would like to add in a quick data point here. In last 3 years, the total number of integration points across the globe rose by 700%. Now you can just imagine 700%. Why? Because the whole world is getting more and more integrated, actually, right? So somebody has said it very well that if data is the new oil, then API is actually the pipeline, right? So now when you talk about APIs, then you're talking about integrated endpoints. Now that means every industry is actually related. Today, if you are a CRM giant, of course, you are supplying your CRM software to a lot of your businesses. And in that case, of course, CRM can actually be a very attractive target because they have all the enterprise data. So I think that's something from a more of a business angle, B2B angle. Another thing is that, of course, the nation state attacks, which Krishna and Sachin both spoke about. These are state sponsored attacks. Of course, we know that wars are no more just grounded on the warfare field, but in fact, today is the age of digital warfare. And I'm sure you must have all seen that what kind of state-sponsored attacks are being launched by Russia, not just on Ukraine, but technically everywhere. And I think it's the other way around as well. Of course, the NATO countries are also collaborating in building their cyber defense against Russia. So not that I want to quote any favoritism on the ongoing geopolitical situation, but still, I think it's important that we understand that threats are not just for businesses or nation states, but in fact, the threat is to consumers as well. I mean, if you just look at, a few years back, we had this Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, where that the data that these social media giants have been collecting from all their global users, it's not that they can predict their user behavior. They also have the ability to manipulate user behavior. Just look at it. In fact, more examples of consumer is that you spoke of IoT. So today, whether it's your smart car that you are driving, whether it's a smart pacemaker that a heart patient has, all these things are connected through IoT. And if these things are hacked, then of course I can hack a car, it's IC, and then make it crash. I can hack a pacemaker, and then and in fact, the pacemaker thing actually did happen. In fact, is one of the most famous case that came out in UK, that one of the person who was a victim of homicide, the homicide was conducted through the hacking of the pacemaker. So by that angle, if you look at it, all the industries are vulnerable, and I don't think that there is any industry who doesn't treat cybersecurity as a practice. In fact, most companies have already started investments consciously in this direction, whether it is about building newer technology controls, whether it's about hiring the right talent, or in fact upgrading the skill of the existing talent. So for that matter, I think it's definitely an undeniable priority for all industries, and there's hardly an industry who hasn't touched upon this point.
Thanks, Archit, for touching upon some very sensitive and important data points today. While all of you work very closely in this space, and we're talking about certain use cases as well, I'd like to hear more from Krishna as well in terms of any certain industries or cases where you think can throw some light, because we have a lot of participants where we see that a lot of businesses wants to hear from the cybersecurity perspective. Yes, Krishna.
Sure, I think as Archit was trying to, right? So also confer upon. It's kind of definitely, but I would like to quote here a few use cases. So, like one has been like recently very, I would say, relevant to the cybersecurity industries, and it like made people consider the cybersecurity, I would say, executive roles like CISO. So there was an incident with Uber, I believe in 2016, where actually they lost like more than 50 million customer records and roughly, I think, 600K Uber driver profiles. And then Mr. Joe Sullivan like was actually kind of convicted in this case. And I think recently in the month of May, though he was not actually sent to jail, but still he has been put into a parole for 3 years and $50,000 fines and 200 hours of community service and all that. But the thing is, like the CISOs are being held accountable for data breach, or if any evidence is found for cover up or not reporting to state authorities or the concern. Even in India, we have like recently last year in April 2022, we have come with a certain guidelines where we have to report a certain specific sort of incidents. I think there are like 18 or 20 such cases within 6 hours, which is like very less compared to European Union. So I think European Union still gives you 72 hours to report, but we are like saying, hey, in 6 hours you have to. But that is a guidance yet. So nobody is going to kind of jail at this point in time, but there are kind of at least global some accountability for the CISO role. So that was one huge case where actually we can kind of go to the board and say that, hey, look, there are consequences apart from the reputational damage of the company. There is actually accountability of the company executives towards the kind of, if in case a data breach happens. So that definitely gives us some armor. And other kind of thing which comes to my mind, which has actually again started a trend in the cybersecurity industry, the SolarWinds. So how somebody compromising your supply chain and can kind of definitely it is not the first one. So I think if you go more than a decade back, there was an RSA hack where actually the RSA was compromised, the air gap network, and the target were not RSA, but actually the people who use the RSA tokens to secure their infrastructure. And Lockheed Martin and whatnot, right? So it was a very sophisticated hack of that point in time, even more than a decade back. And again, with the supply chain attacks, and I think I don't know if Archit was pointing to, but there are a lot of third-party risk which we talk about. Like we are dependent on a lot of supply chain, a lot of other service providers. I think I was reading a Mandiant report which says how last month, through a actually managed security services provider who has a actually service account which was unmanaged, they were able to kind of get into the customer environment, and what saved them? The malware was detected by the antivirus, and that actually saved them. So again, basic security hygiene. If you have antivirus deployed on your endpoints and other stuff, so then you can still kind of prevent a lot of sophisticated attacks also, right? So these two incidents come to my mind, which I can quote, which has actually very much larger influence on the cybersecurity strategy of the company.
Thanks, Krishna. I think we've clearly understood that basis your specific use cases and your experience in dealing with certain incidents, it is very important while effective implementation of cybersecurity measures has been very critical across industries to protect customer data across industries, as well as to protect sensitive information. So I think these use cases definitely highlight the importance of robust security measures, encryption, access controls, and definitely employee training. Of course, we are trying to understand certain valuable lessons for other organizations to prioritize cybersecurity, implement best practices, and continuously adapt these strategies to evolving threats. Sachin, would like to hear from you. This is my next question, wherein we're talking about more on remote working and increasing reliance on cloud-based services. So how can businesses ensure that the security of their digital assets and sensitive information, considering the potential vulnerabilities introduced by a distributed workforce and a third-party service provider?
Correct. Yeah. I guess with this COVID, I guess COVID is slowly, I guess we are habitual of it. It's a part of our life now. But yes, because of COVID, lot of changes which people were not even thought of. It was a sudden change to their life, their professional work, and it across to the organization because within that the immediate time the organization need to make those changes which where they were not even ready for that. We are not thought of like in case of any organization we have a lot of the business continuity management system where we do a business continuity planning and test. Those tests are carried out for the known domains only like application network, facility management, all the stuff. But for such specific the threats we were not even ready for that, and because of which so many changes made into the organization because the business should not get stopped. So immediately the people were given the laptops, the devices, IoTs, BYODs, whatever, whatnot. Everything has been provided to make sure that yes, the operations are keep up and running. Now during that, within that least time period, it was really a completely a very crucial activity for the IT team to manage everything. Now, since there was a business pressure that operation should go, there was a people and then the law enforcement that people should not come out of their house and then they need to work and whatever all the stuff, and because of which they need to connect it with some device to the network. Now during that time period, now most of the issues which hacker typically they got it a ready-made issues which help them to go and made the major impact. If you see a graph, then the major issues which were happened or rather which are happening only because of the learning or the incidents or the issues which got detected and which made aware to the people that yes, this is what it is, the weaknesses. Now, because of the systems which were not hardened, probably sometime it was a loan system, rented laptops, lot of stuff where there were not a security or a stringent controls implemented. The network were not tuned to make sure that the traffic, the majority of the traffic is coming from the remote workforce, like we call it as a remote connectivity. Now, probably during that time period, the IT team didn't got a sufficient time to make sure that the layers has been properly reviewed, the proper tools, technology controls are implemented, and then the testing has been performed. And that is what it was a major gap, or rather it was a time where the major organizations got attacked or breached. Now slowly the people are getting the habit of it, like what exactly the things needs to be remediated, what are the best controls to be adopted if such scenario comes, because still most of the organization either they have a hybrid work culture or most of the organization they have like work from home, still people are getting connected. Now there is a lot of, as I mentioned, that the loan laptops, rented laptops where your company policies are not implemented, they are not probably hardened, you are connecting through some different source like a different service provider. Sometimes it's a free Wi-Fi, sometimes it's your own, sometimes it's whatever, whatnot. So there is a tunnel which is getting connected. Now, how that tunnel is secured, that need to be checked into. What are the devices which are coming inside and getting connected to your network? Are they secured enough and they should get stopped on the perimeter only? Then the third parameter is, even if they are coming inside, is your current existing network is so robust or well equipped to manage those issues like your IPS, IDS, your the WAF on the cloud, so many devices. Are they there to take care of it? And probably yes. You after that, the most important point I will say that awareness to the resources like usage of internet, connectivity, the softwares which they are using, what the do's and don'ts probably they should be looking into when they are connecting to the company corporate network, which is very critical. And with they connecting it, they should not allow someone to come inside with them. That is what something need to be. So employee awareness is the most important part. I always emphasize that your every resource of your organization should be made aware about at least the key hygiene factor of cybersecurity. If they are aware, because see now, only because of someone is clicking on some link and then entire thing is getting blasted. So phishing, ransomware, malware, DDoS attacks, so many things which are happening. Probably the major reason, even if there are the protections which are implemented, tools, technology, security safeguards, they are there. But yes, because of a small mistake, the organization is getting compromised. And we have a lot of examples. Lot of the tier one companies, they got compromised just because of the one small mistake. So how is your awareness part to your employees? The another important part is the people who are managing the network, because lot of new devices, tools, a lot of perimeter protection softwares, they are coming in. Are you really able to configure those the way it need to be? Because getting a device and just putting into your the network, it will not suffice. What is the deepest level of configuration you made for the device to help your organization to safeguard? That's something need to be. So for that, IT team need to be always well equipped, and along with a hand in hand with the vendors, are they making sure that whatever they have placed across the perimeter, they are all to the stringent configurations, and confirming you, assuring that there is no threat which should be coming in. And then likewise, as you mentioned, there are so many other parameters like constant testing of your network with the third party, vulnerability assessments, authentication, authorization is again one of the important, encryptions to all the devices, classification of your devices. And the most important I would like to mention here in this forum, we should not make our network more complex. More simpler it is, it's more easier to identify, rectify, diagnose, and at a time of any issue, you should be able to separate that network. So more you complex, more you make it more like congested, it will be a problem for the IT team only. So we should make it. Even in one of the recent forum, I just do mention that we have lot of vendors which are coming in, and then we are just like onboarding them and deploying them. But what is the usage of that? Is it like by getting those inside your network, you are making it more complex, and the usability or the use cases of that, what is your the ROI on that part? That also need to be checked. So these are the just key points I just wanted to make sure mention, so that the networks are safeguarded and organizations are safe.
Thanks, Sachin, for emphasizing on the best practices and measures that businesses can implement to make sure they have a secured and safe network, and also what are the things they should be doing to implement such kind of training. I think you've touched upon some great points today. Also to highlight, and this question is for Archit here, because we have a lot of, so we also understood that the field of cybersecurity all put together currently faces a significant shortage with a staggering workforce of with all put together. We've seen that in the last couple of months there's almost 40,000 open job positions which are yet to be fulfilled. The demand and supply, there is a huge gap, and we see that the growing demand that far exceeds the available supply of skilled professionals. So talking about the career opportunities in this sector, so with the increasing demand for cybersecurity professionals, wanted to understand what are the current and emerging career opportunities in the field of cybersecurity, and are there any specific roles or job positions that are in high demand, and what are the skills and qualifications are typically sought after by employers in the industry?
So I'm not sure if this is by design or just by coincidence that I all the time come across a very heavily loaded question, but thank you for that. I think definitely there is a big demand and supply gap. When we talk about cybersecurity skills, it's important that we understand that why is that a case. This is because technology is something which is growing increasingly democratic, right? I mean, today learning a new skill is not that difficult as it used to be, in the earlier times where you had a lot of proprietary technology. Today we live in a world where more than 75% newer innovations are actually happening on open source. And that's the reason I think, it is a more elaborate landscape where there's a lot of scope where people can upskill their existing talents and of course new learned things. Now, having said that, when there is a lot of dynamism in any area, things are changing very frequently, right? I mean, if you just look at even the product categories, say for example, cloud security was a big thing 5 years back, right? They came up with CSPM, saying cloud security posture management. Then came CWPP, cloud workload protection platform. Then came CNAP, cloud native application protection platform. Then came CNAP plus plus and whatnot, right? So I think when things and technologies are changing so frequently, it is important that people also maintain that speed of upskilling and right skilling to match that thing. I don't think that that's happening, and that's what actually is creating the demand and supply gap. If you just look at it, technology is so democratic that if you just look at the FBI list of top 10 global terrorists, then we'd find out that one of the person who tops that list is doubling as a cardiac surgeon. So that's the extent of democracy in technology today, right? So I think definitely people can pursue this as a very amazing career option, and there are different kinds of opportunity available at different levels, right? So I mean, people to start with who are just starting their career in the industry, I think definitely they can pick up so many different fields. They can specialize in network security, they can specialize in application security, or per se, today you with the onset of DevSecOps, even today you have developers who are expected to have security skills so that they follow the principles of security by design and privacy by design, right? So similarly, with the increasing fashion of activities like red teaming, blue teaming, and purple teaming, of course, I think these kind of threat simulation opportunities are also there in this field. People can actually learn how to simulate threats and actually do a penetration testing. Those are for the starters. I think people who are in the networking field, definitely, I think they can also make a lateral shift. They can also upgrade, and they can see that how they can learn secure networking. While they can always build up on their networking skills, it is important that how do they expand their portfolio by learning new network security skills. And then of course at senior levels, I think of course directors of cybersecurity and CISO, as I think Krishna and Sachin has both spoken about, that there's a increasing importance of this role across the globe and across all industries. So I think yes, CISO and senior roles are going to be more strategic in nature, while the middle management roles and the starter roles are going to be more operational in nature. But definitely there are plethora of roles that people can pursue their career in when it comes to cybersecurity.
Thanks, Archit. I'd like to pass a similar question to Krishna as well, because you also deal with in terms of hiring similar kind of roles in your organization. So typically, can you also throw some light in terms of what are the certifications that organizations look for when they want to hire a certain cybersecurity professional? And what kind of strong understanding is required before hiring a professional and giving a role or creating a role in this space?
Sure, I think I will definitely try to kind of simplify this for you, because I feel that cybersecurity is nothing special, but it is just a use case of how the things evolve, right? Like first we created computer systems, and then we have like, oh, okay, this is an asset with security. What I have mostly in terms of hiring, we don't kind of go and like hire rocket scientists or something, but definitely there are certain specializations which we prefer, like if we are hiring for SOC, if we are hiring for security engineering, or based on what is specialization. But I kind of potentially look into a lot of foundation, and sadly, at least in multiple occurrences, I am seeing that the kind of freshers and young graduates and young master students are not focusing on security as a very focused discipline, and I think they don't even know how basic stuff works sometimes. So, for example, if you go and ask them, hey, if you log into a banking site, what goes underneath? So They're not able to kind of explain simple thing like DNS resolution, how HTTPS works, how you log in securely, why do you need a captcha, how the authentication and authorization works in the backend. So there are like a lot of I would say the curiosity about security is missing. Like learning security just to get a job, maybe that's peaking trend. But as a human, we should be more curious on how stuff works and what are the foundational building blocks. And if we understand, okay, this is a database, this is where basically we store data, so then we would understand like, okay, we store data, we need to protect it. Okay, there is an HTTPS which we can use to secure communication between this endpoint to the database. So a lot of this curiosity, like why, that needs to be kind of to be understood by the kind of a lot of people who are, I would say, breaking into cybersecurity. As I said, trying to find the weak link is how attackers think, and they have to succeed, become the successful ones, right? We as a defender have to be successful all the time. So we need to understand the things end to end in a great detail. We have to call out basically, like, so in the system design, like if we are kind of preparing a network design, we can't miss anything. So everything has to be very elaborate, very foundational, very exhaustive, and so that's where I feel that if somebody is trying to get into cybersecurity, uh, like a deep understanding of how things work, how one thing talks to the other system. It may be API, I think Archit was saying, right? Though my stand is like data is not new oil, data is now new crude oil, I call it. So data enrichment has to happen to kind of make it information. So data is like new crude oil. We need to refine, process further. And that's what is happening, right? Even with the AI. So AI is simply not magic. AI needs huge amount of data to kind of produce good results. What just made this AI go like boom with the chat GPT is the adoption of NLP. So natural language processing gives an interface to the AI systems. Like you just go and ask in a human language, hey, chat GPT, can you help me with this? And so it started understanding human language, and that's where the things are. Like you can deceive also. But point is, by understanding the evolution of the systems, how we evolved from a basic computer system to an advanced system. For example, like we started hard disk, then we started like, okay, we need more hard disk. We started caching locally, right? Server, everything, like how caching works, and like if you see the caching, it is not just at hard disk level. Now you have like even what we call as like uh, something with basically CDNs, right? Like where they kind of cache the data for you. They're like everything which we are doing is kind of giving a new attack vector. So every place, like you understanding that all the technologies, why this is needed, and how can we protect it is more. I would say apart from the certification, like I have certifications like CSSP, CCSP, and a couple of more and whatnot. I would kind of recommend those sort of certifications which gives and adds to your foundational knowledge. And then you should go for like very specific certifications, maybe on each CSP. Like you can go and chase AWS security for who are working on AWS. Somebody can do Azure, somebody can go GCP, based on what you prefer. But what I wanted to highlight is there's no substitute for the foundational building blocks and how thing works. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna. You've touched upon some great points and also highlighting that we need to start thinking from an attacker's mindset and also have a basic, strong foundation in terms of understanding this ever-evolving field of cybersecurity. Moving on to Sachin. So we've heard from Archit as well as Krishna in terms of how to build a career in cybersecurity. But we also see that there are a lot of freshers or recent graduates which are interested in starting a career in cybersecurity. Wanted to hear from you, what advice do you have for them so that they can gain relevant experience, develop these foundational skills, which we have heard from Krishna today, and increase their marketability in the job market? And are there any specific entry level roles or internships that today's freshers can look at, provided they can gain this valuable learning and opportunities in this ever emerging field of cybersecurity?
Yep. I will quickly respond to that. See, nowadays, lot of engineering colleges, the technology areas, they have already included cyber cloud. So the syllabus is not the way it was. Now it is much advanced. The very first thing is they need to really wear a cap of as a security expert starting from, I would say, their third year of your graduation. And from there, if you start thinking with some baseline basic knowledge, probably by the end of their completion of the graduation, definitely they will reach to some level where they have basic understanding of a security. The second important point is they need to really think of that if I am going to become a cyber security or a security expert or engineer, I am going to join, what are the areas where I really need to look into? So the ultimate goal is we need to defend with this so-called the hacker community or the enemies. So for that, how I need to get myself prepared upon the baseline control requirement. What are the various areas? Like there are so many areas. It's cyber is not like only one area. So what are the various areas? Definitely he can contribute where he have some good confidence on that. If you are into the good application security, if you are into the network security, definitely they can pursue. And last but not least, I will definitely wanted to say there is going to be a great career into this cyber world. Now, since the technology starting from the binary byte 0 and 1, the way we are now on the age of like chat gpt, AI/ML, I don't know maybe how long this AI/ML will last. Probably something will come and they will replace that as well. In fact, into the Google CEO, I heard that there is something, a new scanner which is coming in where all your medical devices are going to be redundant, and then you have only one device which will scan everything. Now how important that device is. So likewise technology is growing, everything is going into the like on the in the air, I would rather say, because that's all information passing, crossing the boundaries. How we need to safeguard that, and definitely this is going to be a great career for all the freshers, the graduates, to become a cybersecurity experts. Definitely the knowledge will come with the experience, but at least from the third year they need to start understand the basic core concept which are already there into their syllabus. Post that they can go for some baseline the certifications like ISOs. There are so many other certification, then advanced certification. Definitely they can make a great career into cybersecurity. This is unending because everything is going to be digitalized. I don't know, even we cannot think of what is coming in 2024, 25, but we need to be ready for that. And to be ready for that, we need to constantly gain a knowledge. And if you gain that, I guess probably it's a great career into cyber or infosec domain.
Thanks, Sachin, for emphasizing it's a great career opportunity or a field for a lot of job aspirants out there to build their career in cybersecurity. And also stressing on the fact, especially from you, Krishna and Archit, that it is very important to build foundational skills in areas like network security. Krishna,
Yeah,
you were
Krishna,
adding something?
Yeah, I was just trying to add one thing which I missed. The importance of kind of coding, right? Like nowadays, like a lot of the skill sets, the companies are adopting a more of a DevOps mindset. So what it means, like DevSecOps maybe is a kind of again a specialization. But like if you as a team are building something, so you are kind of not like, hey, I built something and somebody else will run. We are going like you build it, you design it, you build it, and you operate it. So it is like end-to-end life cycle. So testing and everything is happening in the same team. So a lot of organizations have kind of adopted this DevOps mindset. And my advice is also like, hey, learn to code, otherwise you will be obsolete. Because like they're like coming as like no code platform and whatnot, but at least I see there are like a lot of mental barrier, like, hey, I can't code. I think that has to go away, because I think people need to learn, like code is like a life-saving skill now. So definitely there is an NLP to help, but I would say go do some hands-on thing like CTFs, write a small GitHub, like a POC on the Git and publish it on GitHub, try to open source it. But yeah, actually try to solve, like do small use cases, POCs, experiment with certain things. Just don't read blogs and just don't listen to like people like us only. Hands-on is kind of more important, I would say. Like if you will just go and do one thing hands-on, that will give you enough confidence. Definitely, like from our wisdom, you can it can be of some help, but not doing things on your own. I think it would be a great risk.
I think this is going on a very interesting discussion, and in the interest of time, I'd like to, call out some questions from our participants, because we also want to read out and, ask some questions because, so one question that has come from one of our participants is, I'd like to pass on this question to you, Krishna. Is it mandatory to provide Aadhaar card number and PAN number while applying for job, as many MNCs are marking it as mandatory to give these details for applying it in their company? Is it safe? Question.
Sorry. So I think I'm not sure, but at least some companies I have worked with and currently in past, they have like this background verification services. So ideally, like you don't need to pass on these details to the company itself. We employ a background verification service, which kind of normally do. But at least I have seen the responsible companies in general, they don't kind of retain data. So even if they will collect data, the data comes with a life self, and like, hey, once that kind of business purpose of that is fulfilled, people will simply kind of let go of that information, right? So that's my kind of response. I can't comment on the other companies.
Okay. I think I have one more question from one of our participants. This question, I'd like to pass it on to Arjit. Arjit, I'm not sure it's a loaded question or not, but still I would like you to answer. How different cybersecurity is from information security and compliance?
Great. So I think information security and cybersecurity are, of course, related. And while there are different representations across different platforms and people would want to portray it in their own version, however, largely cybersecurity should be seen as a subset of information security, right? Because information security as a whole is about protecting your information, right? I mean, like Krishna gave an example that, data is a crude oil. When you enrich it, then it becomes information, right? So I think, how do you protect your information crown jewels? That is about information security. Particularly as a subset, cybersecurity is the division and the specialization that is all about how you protect this against external threats. That is cybersecurity. When you start specializing in an area, and when you start initiatives that, yes, these are certain external threat vectors, and these are the controls that I'm going to use as a defense against these external threat vectors, then that area is called cybersecurity. Now, compliance is something which you can say is always enforced by the governing bodies, by the federal bodies, and in fact, the governments as well. And compliance is nothing but it's the minimal viable standard of anything. I mean, because we are speaking in the context of information security, then definitely compliance is something which is actually a minimum viable standard that needs to be complied with, right? I mean, it's important. With the growing risk, the compliance level also increases. I mean, if you look at it in today's times, you see that airbags has become mandatory for automobiles. Back in the case, if you look at it, airbags was never mandatory, while the technology of airbag has always been. But then, of course, when we see that the road risk, the transport risk has increased, that's when the compliance has come in, that now even on the lowermost models, you need to have that. So compliance is nothing but it's just the governments and the federal bodies, you can say, their measure to enforce certain amount of strictness on the operating landscape.
Thank you, Archit. In the interest of time, we would not be able to take up all the other questions, but yes, we will take a note of the questions that has come up from our participants, and we'll reach out to our panelists for their answers, and we'll also circle back accordingly. So in conclusion, cybersecurity is not just a necessity, but a strategic imperative for businesses. The growing threat landscape and regulatory requirements make it crucial for organizations to invest in robust cybersecurity measures. Simultaneously, job seekers with cybersecurity skills have a world of opportunities awaiting them. By leveraging their expertise, they can contribute to protecting the ecosystem from cyber threats while enjoying a rewarding and a fulfilling career. I would like to thank our esteemed panelists and the enthusiastic participants for making this webinar a truly engaging and enlightening experience. We sincerely appreciate your time, interest, and commitment to fostering a better understanding of cybersecurity. Thank you all for being a part of this informative and inspiring discussion. To read in detail about cybersecurity and its benefits, I would request you to download our latest paper from our website and our social media handles. Thank you, everyone, once again. Thank you so much, our panelists. If you want to add anything, if I would have missed out, please feel free to add it. But I did like to thank your time for bringing in such an engaging discussion on cybersecurity today.
Thank you so much, TeamLease, and the entire team. It was a great session. Definitely, we should add on for the benefit of our community, and in fact, adding to our the safety of our information across the globe. In one of the recent NASCOM the conference, our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Ji Modi, he literally emphasizes the importance of cyber security. So now, just imagine that at a global level, the cybersecurity is important, and definitely each one of us should participate. So once again, I really wanted to thank TeamLease and Krishna and entire team for having such session, and honor to be a part of such session.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Signing off.
Thank you,
Bye.
Krishna.
Good
Thank
day.
you.